Good morning. Or perhaps you're watching this later in the day. Hello. It's important I share with you the major awakening in yoga. Tell you about it so you'll know what's happening when it happens to you. Perhaps it already has happened. But I hesitate to talk about this because people often try to force it, which is counterproductive. Or they pretend they have it and they've never had it. So it's an important issue. In essence, one day you're meditating and you feel your energy and awareness rise up your body to the top of your head and push beyond that point at the top of your head into absolute spirit. There's light, there's joy, there's a freedom indescribable. And that's called awakening. It's also called in yoga the rising of your kundalini. Your spiritual energy comes up your spine and goes through all the different chakras in your spine and goes into your head and then rises beyond. It's a wondrous experience. You get absorbed in spirit and you begin to realize as a result of this, your spiritual nature and spirit is everywhere, and you begin to recognize it everywhere, in everyone, even in a concrete wall. So it's important I share, but get the basic idea. There will come a rising and an absorption that is simply heavenly. Okay, now that's wonderful. That's just wonderful. You're one of the few human beings to experience spiritual awakening. Perhaps you don't do yoga and you have this experience. Well, it's a spiritual awakening that occurs. So just enjoy, understand that spiritual awakening can happen to people who are not doing yoga. Can happen to you if you do yoga a long time or a short time. When you're ready, it happens. Now there's another point though. This high awareness has to descend also. Once it's gone all the way up, there's a beautiful, blissful, sublime descent as this wonderful consciousness comes down through your body. And this descent is just as important as landing an airplane. If you soar in spirit, you must also land nicely and beautifully for that trip to be considered a success. And some people don't make a point of descending. They feel it's so wonderful, they don't thoroughly come back down. They don't descend well. So just get the idea. One day, not a day that you force, not a day that you predict. You're meditating so beautifully that your consciousness, your awareness rises upward. Perhaps you sense it happening in your spine. Perhaps it's just an upward movement of your consciousness. Goes all the way up beyond your head into a sublime state. Perhaps an hour passes in this sublime state, 2 hours, 4 hours. But usually it's about half an hour. And then a thorough coming down, which you must encourage and allow. Let it come down to your fingertips and your toes. Let it come thoroughly down. And then you will live your days being able to go up into spirit and bringing your spiritual awareness down into your daily life, down into your walks, your talks, your work, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, down, descended from this high place, but healthy. You become more and more alive, consciously alive. It's just a wonderful feeling of well-being that is with you. If you allow the process to happen, don't force it. And there are some people who try to do kind of harsh movements of their spine to trigger some kind of effect. And I don't recommend that. I recommend you allow the natural rising and descent of your kundalini when it wishes to happen in a very natural, easy way on its own. Just be ready for it. And if it doesn't happen to you, you're not ready for it. All right, so that's the most important part of my talk. That's essential knowledge. I've had the experience of course, so I'm speaking with awareness of it. But also, I've been sharing yoga with so many people, thousands and thousands of people through the years. And I've seen some people mishandle or get in the way of a beautiful ascent and a beautiful descent. Now let's look at my notes. I would like to go through this, and I'm going to mention some other people who don't know yoga who have this experience. So it's a spiritual awakening that occurs, and this is how it occurs. Let me look at the notes. I've covered a lot of this. What happens as your Kundalini awakens and stirs, it may not go all the way up at first. It goes part way. And then eventually, it just goes all the way up. As your Kundalini awakens you, and you become spiritually conscious, your awareness of your life and the world and your family and yourself is raised into a new way of understanding life and a new way of being. You solve the riddle of existence. This rising and awakening meant everything to me. It was just a great gift. I had been on the outside speculating, wondering what life was for, whether God even existed. God, the infinite spirit, whatever you want to call that creative power that gives you life and consciousness. I spent years yearning. I even read the autobiography of a yogi by the great Paramahansa Yogananda and continued yearning. I didn't have the experience right then. And I didn't get the point. I didn't get the essence of yoga because I was an outsider. The spiritual energy is said to be sleeping in us until this happens. The Kundalini is asleep, usually down around the chakra, the first chakra we call it, in the area of your tailbone. There's this energy that you'll feel unwind and come up your spine one day. This spiritual energy gradually awakens as you practice yoga and live a loving life, not allowing the ego to be too outrageous. This awareness, this consciousness gradually rises. You feel separate existence as you sleep. What happens as you awaken, you realize your connection with the infinite and with everybody. You're part of spirit, they're part of spirit, and you know spirit. You sense the holy and the divine in life. It's also sacred. Just life itself is sacred, and you see it. You feel that you've had what is called rebirth as a result of this up and then a descent. You feel like a new person. Different reason for living and being, different understanding, and what a joyous one. You feel in God and close to God. You have a new motive because you can't use the old selfish one. You have a new vision, a new understanding of life, others, yourself. You'll know what your life's about, and you will see it is wonderful. You will see it is holy. Meant to be, but we're ignorant of it, ignorant of the holiness of life. Let's do a little experiment and just try it. Give me a chance. I'd like you to think of God or the source of life and light and consciousness. Just think of God. Does your consciousness lift? When you think of God and you feel your consciousness automatically lifting as you just pay attention to the divine. Your energy wants to awaken. If you feel energy rising up when you turn your awareness to God, you're awakening. This process is starting. If nothing happens, you feel like a concrete block before you think of God, during and after, you need to do some postures, practice yoga, develop your devotion, soften your ego. Let's try another. Say a silent prayer, just a one-sentence prayer. Dear Lord, now say your prayer. Amen. Did your energy rise? Did you feel a lightness occur to your consciousness while you were praying? You want to feel that every time you pray, kind of a lightness and an upliftedness. So those are good indicators of how sleepy or how wakeful your Kundalini happens to be. This rising of feeling and energy is not an awakening, but it leads to awakening. These pleasant rises, maybe you're hearing music and you feel something go up your spine because the music is so sublime. Beethoven's Ninth, when the chorus comes in, tears come down my cheeks even. But you'll feel a rising. That rising is the higher energy revealing itself to you. It's a sign you are developing well. You are sensitive to something beyond the regular physical world. When you behold in a sunset, sunrise, visual beauty, do you feel an upliftment? That's good. As energy is moving up your sympathetic nervous system and preparing you. The yoga rising is called, as I said, the Kundalini. In the view of yoga, Kundalini rises in the center of your spine. We call this center, the central part of your spine, your deep center spine, all the way up. We call this the corridor of enlightenment. Your awareness goes up this corridor into the infinite. Now, there are other energy feelings in your spine, to the left and to the right. We're talking about the central one, the corridor. Think of your deep spine often, just center in it. This is the corridor along which your Kundalini is going to send its energy back to God, from whence you came. It's usually subtle, and it becomes more powerful as time passes. Usually this movement of energy in your spine gives you some bliss and ecstasy, some delight. But not always. If it feels burny and uncomfortable, your nervous system needs rest, and you need to not try to, force or move the energy up. Don't strain. If it's uncomfortable rather than ecstatic and delightful, your nerves need care. You need to exercise and eat salads and have good nutrition and get enough sleep so your nerves can easily handle this rush, we call it, this rush of energy. So it should be mellow and sweet and glorious. Yoga will help you along the way for the day that this happens. Yoga helps this Kundalini to rise, lifting you from mortal mind. You've always been thinking of yourself as one small human being, encased in a body, living through this little thing, this physical body. You go from thinking physically, materially, and mortally to a divine mind. Your mind begins to understand, oh, it's about spirit. And I'm spirit. I was as if dead or as if asleep. Now I'm awake. You go from a sense of separateness from everybody and from God to wholeness. You feel connected to everybody, connected to God, the divine, the infinite. So there are various ways of saying this. Let's quote some scriptures from way back when. The Maitreya Upanishad said this thousands of years ago. You are lifted from your elemental soul to your eternal soul. We also use the term, you're lifted from your soul personality into your soul. Elemental soul or soul personality, you transcend them. You go from sensing, I am this, to, I was wrong. I am this. This. Expansive, free, glorious. Second chapter, verse 2 of that Upanishad, Maitreya. Now that serene one who rising up out of his body reaches the highest light and appears with his own form, he is the soul. So, like I was saying, now that serene one who rising up out of his body reaches the highest light. That's what we're talking about. And they were doing this and enjoying this phenomenon, this divine happening, thousands of years ago. And appears with his own form. He is the soul, the Atman. Atman meaning the soul or the true self. He is, when you discover this spiritual reality of you, he is the immortal, the fearless, the eternal soul. Immortal, fearless, characteristics of your soul. Maitreya says, before the rising and the enlightenment in our eternal soul, we get stuck and deluded in a body. In the body awareness that we think we're just these physical beings, biological beings. And that we're called to just be a personality who doesn't know who he is, or she. In normal human consciousness, we become attached to the nature component of life, the physical reality of life, and nature is beautiful. In normal human consciousness, we become attached. This is our reality, we're concerned about it. We're stuck to it, or we want to cling to it. We become attached to the reality of nature. We're ignorant of our true self and the infinite spirit. That's hard to agree to. How can I be ignorant? I'm aware, I'm alert. I'm physically aware, I'm aware of the physical world. We're attached to it. We don't want it to fade away or change. We become attached to nature and are ignorant. We're ignorant. Yes, we are. We don't know spirit exists. The spirit's manifesting this. We don't know spirit in back of everybody and everything, or within everybody and everything. This elemental or physical material level of consciousness has been overcome by nature's qualities that keep us stuck in the natural world, the material world. We go through tamas, rajas, and sattvas, forces that keep us stuck and resisting any spiritual awareness. So I'm going to talk briefly about what keeps us from having Kundalini experiences. And there are natural momentums that do. So we're talking about these forces, or we're calling them the gunas, G-U-N-A-S. I'll call them mainly forces. The gunas is a yoga word, and there are 3 gunas, and these 3 can keep us tied up, preoccupied. Now, because of becoming attached, he or she goes on to confusedness. We live in confusedness. Because of confusedness, he, she sees not the blessed Lord, doesn't see spirit everywhere. doesn't see the cause of action, doesn't see the one who stands within oneself because of confusedness caused by these forces. Borne along and defiled by the stream of these forces, these qualities. Gunas mean qualities. Gunas are qualities. Borne along and defiled by the stream of gunas, qualities, one goes on to the state of self-conceit. Suddenly we're thinking, most of the time, I, me, and mine. How do I get through? How do I succeed? How do I prevail? How do I get a good reputation and fame or lots of money? How do I get mine? Borne along, defiled by the stream of qualities, one goes on to the state of self-conceit. I, me, mine. I love that movie where, I won't name them, but the talented one who sings so beautifully and dances so beautifully, she says a lot about herself. And then she says, enough about me. What about you? What do you think of me? It's time for you to share. What do you think about me? I, me, mine. We get stuck there. Thus she or he binds themselves in their false egos, a false sense of self. We are bound like a bird in a snare. So here are the characteristics of being trapped, stuck in your first guna, called tamas guna, T-A-M-A-S, the dark quality or force. I don't want to try, I don't want to go there, I don't want to think, I don't want to feel, I'm preoccupied by me. I'm thinking of me and my well-being. So characteristics of being trapped like this, which means you can't have this great yoga experience. As long as you're stuck in tamas guna, tamas force, your kundalini does not rise. You're stuck. So there are a lot of characteristics. And if this fits you, it fits everybody who's in tamas guna. So I'm just going to go through them quickly. If you're trapped in tamas guna, you live in delusion, you live in fear, you tend to be despondent, you're sleepy a lot, weary and sleepy. You don't heed other people or what's going on very well. You age quickly, you have a lot of sorrows. Beyond normal, you have hunger. You're just hungry more often. You have a lot of thirst beyond normal. You often feel wretched. It's easy for you to anger. You tend to atheism because you're not sensitive to spiritual things. You live in ignorance, jealousy. You tend to be cruel, tend to be stupid, tend to be shameless. You neglect possibilities of religion. You tend to have pride and arrogance. You're easily upset. You have fluctuating moods. You are trapped, and your kundalini does not rise. You're like an alcoholic or other addict. You're like a depressive. You live like an angry, mean person. So, are you trapped in any of these? You know. You know. Or you can say but, and have lots of excuses too. Good luck to you. Hope you do something about being stuck in tamas guna. Or you could be stuck another way You may be trapped in Rajas Guna, this force that keeps you from spiritual awakening and perhaps even from spiritual interest. Are you trapped in Rajas Guna, this particular force? Notice as I read the ways Rajas Guna appears in us. We have an inner ongoing thirst. I want, I need. We live that way. I want, I need, I want, I need. Covetousness, he's got one, I want one. I wish I had his, whatever it is. Covetousness tend to be malicious, lots of lust, lots of hatred, secretiveness, envy, insatiable. Yes, you just had it, but now you want more. Insatiability, you're not steadfast. You're fickle, distracted. You're easily distracted. You always want to get and acquire more. Kind of a grasping, eager to acquire mode of life. You prefer to be unfair and use favoritism and other schemes to get your way. You're not that much of a friend. You offend them. You hurt them. You use them. You have contempt for unpleasant objects, events, people. You're overfond of some people or some habits. You have a sourness of utterance. What you say is often sour, clever criticism. You tend to gluttony. So, do you have any of those characteristics? That's Rajas Guna winning over you and your happiness. Tamas and Rajas in particular bind and trap us in our elementary soul personality. And that's who we think we are, and that's the way it's going to be. Tamas and Rajas trap us in various miserable conditions. Getting free is like trying to fight the tide in the ocean or a great river. Or Tamas and Rajas make us feel like we are lame persons. We can't function that well. Tamas and Rajas make us feel we're living in a prison. No independence. We tend to fear death all the time. It's like being drunk with liquor all the time, drunk with Maya, spiritual ignorance. It's like being seized and held onto by an evil being. It's like gross darkness surrounds you. It's like having been bitten by a poisonous snake. It's like being an actor and never being yourself. You're just acting. You'll notice I haven't come to sattvas because the sattvas force is rather wonderful, and it starts whenever you start yoga. Just the way you feel after your first class, your postures, your meditation. Sattvas guna comes. It's the force that leads you Godward. There is a force in nature. If it is dominant, and whenever it occurs, leads you to think about God and meaning in life, goodness, appreciation. Sattvas guna leads you Godward. And yoga, whenever you practice it correctly, makes you sattvic, helps you to more easily entertain the possibilities of the true you coming forth and looking at the world and life differently, being a friend to humanity. Anyway, so we have one guna going for us. It's going to rescue us, take us toward this awakening, this major awakening. So the antidote to the liberating way to get untrapped and break free of the elemental soul, get free of being stuck in spiritual ignorance and a body and physical focus. You'll recall the antidote is your yoga practice. Especially, it says in the Maya tree, you find Vidya. Vidya helps you go Godward. You find this energy consciousness that leads Godward. Through Sattvas Guna, you begin to walk a path that leads Godward in things you do and say, and the way you eat breakfast and lunch and dinner, and the way you sleep, and the way you are a friend. So you make this effort. You read scriptures. They're interesting. They have meaning to you. That's this beautiful Sattvas Guna and Vidya going the Godward direction. You learn to put effort into going Godward. That's called tapas. You don't need to know these words, although you'll love them. Tapas, the effort toward transformation. You save time in your day to do something very good for you, for your overall well-being, and for your family's sake too, perhaps. Tapas, effort toward transformation, austerity. Meditation, centering, striving to center, striving to make a connection with spirit, which gives you consciousness and the ability to speak and think. You've got all these beautiful possibilities available to you when you learn to meditate. And Sattvas Guna helps you want to meditate and delight in meditation. Excuse me. Excuse me. With the help of Vidya, scriptures, effort, meditation, this all leads to rising, to the Kundalini awakening, and to the Kundalini raising your consciousness day by day and one day all the way. Let it happen. Unless you don't have time. Let's say it's starting to happen, but you have to be somewhere or you have to drive a car, or then just put it off. Just say, wait. I'm going to take the next opportunity I can to let this happen. And then it might not happen, but if you don't have time for spiritual energy to go up and give you a sublime few hours in your life, then don't encourage it. Just get back in your physical body, move your hands, move your toes, walk about, bring the energy down. But if you have time, who wouldn't have time? Make time. Just find an opportunity when you can sit and meditate. And I notice my Kundalini is trying to go up. Here's its opportunity. And I have nothing to do, and I don't have to answer the phone. Just get a quiet time soon, because it's trying to happen. And let it happen. Okay. But if you have time, and it feels very mellow, go for it. You'll be helped. It's your first time, but you'll find there's a lot of help going on by the spirit within you to help this to happen to you. As you do your spiritual practice with devotion, hopefully, the eternal divine soul within you is going to help. It's going to go forth and restrain the senses from disturbing you, and it's going to calm your thoughts, maybe to no thoughts. It's going to help you release desires, which often interrupt, intrude, which would otherwise keep you trapped in the elemental soul. And as the flowing rivers disappear in the ocean, name and form dissolve from your awareness. Just the world goes away, diminishes for a while in your consciousness. The divine eternal soul is not active. It's there all the time, but it causes the latent, the sleeping, ready spirit within you, in your first chakra, to stir. Sometimes you feel like it's circling. The soul doesn't do this, but it causes this spiritual activity in your first chakra to stir, and it often does circle, and rise through the other chakras, 5 in your spine, and then up into your head. Stir and rise to the other chakras, eventually all the way from the first chakra to the 7th chakra and beyond. Oh, you lucky, fortunate, but blessed human being. You arrive at one of the high points of human existence when you discover the spiritual realities of your life. It's a great aid during your months or years of spiritual practice to ease your bondage to the elemental soul and to reverse attachment to the material world, to think of the 2 birds from the Upanishads again. 2 birds sit in the self-same tree. One eats sweet fruit, one is busy, and the other looks on. Think of yourself as having 2 birds. One's engaged in life, the other is calmly witnessing. That witness consciousness helps you get into soul and spiritual awareness and spiritual awakening. Just live now and then thinking, I'm like the 2 birds in the same tree. One eats sweet fruit, one's busy relating to life, enjoying life. The other looks on calmly. Get used to that second bird. Just witness, calmly watch. That helps you to make this ascent. So do practice that, if you wish. Be able to switch to your witnessing bird whenever you like. So now, let's talk about the Kundalini itself. What goes up? Something goes up powerfully. You couldn't stop it. It just goes. When you allow it to, of course. If you're going to stop it because you have an emergency or you got to do something, bring your awareness down thoroughly into the physical body. Tense, relax, walk about, drink a glass of water, have a shower, walk on the grass, walk on the sand at the shore. Just ground yourself temporarily, but soon, within a day or 2, set yourself up for this happening, this occurring. So Kundalini literally means winding power. This energy at first starts to wind. Sometimes you feel it wind all the way up to winding power. It's also called, Kundalini is called transforming energy. Christians often call it the Holy Spirit. People in the East often call it the Divine Mother or Shakti, spiritual energy. When I was in India, on signs here and there, Shakti Power Company. The electrical company called themselves the Shakti Power Company. It's often called energy or prana, life force. It's often called life, consciousness. Sometimes it's called the bliss. Sometimes it's called the rapture. Sometimes it's called the wind, a mighty wind. Sometimes it's called the force. As it rises, you may not be aware of your body or spine. Just consciousness rising. You may be aware that it's happening in your spine, and you're aware of your spine, and you go up and up and up through the top, the crown chakra, the crown center. So those are some considerations of what is this Kundalini. You may only be aware of a delightful upward motion into the sublime or the sacred, holiness everywhere, just all sacred. But Kundalini is in us, and it will go up. At the right time, the eternal soul will send it up. There's one more thing to mention. I don't know if we need to mention it. It's going to happen anyway, but may as well mention it just to make you more fully ready. One more factor that the Mundaka Upanishad emphasizes, that this energy goes up and then penetrates the crown chakra, penetrates it. There's a sense of density that it pushes through. So be open to that. There may be a point you're involved in where you're just pausing here but pushing here. And you're not trying to push, but there's a pushing quality and then a through quality. So penetration is another factor for you to be aware of. The Kundalini rises up the Sushumna and penetrates the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus, and then it opens into light everywhere. Maybe light, ecstasy, sense of the divine, the sacred, sense of God being here. Then your consciousness enters the true soul and the infinite spirit. And the, yes, I mean, like, why are we wasting our time? Why aren't we all just letting yoga grow on us and grow in us? Why? If this is available, well, it's available when we prepare the way, you know. And if it hasn't happened to you and you've been doing yoga 20 years, you're not ready. You know, there is something that you need to release or understand in order for this to happen. Very often your ego is saying, I'm going to have a Kundalini experience, and your ego's in the way. Your sense of self will not allow something that's beyond its control. So very often it's our own ego that says, I'm going to have spiritual awakening, and I'm going to have a Kundalini experience. And you never get it because the ego can't do it and it's in the way. Your ego has to humbly step back and allow this process. So some helps. These may be of help to you in your openness. Are you open to a Kundalini experience? I don't know what to say if you say, well, I don't think I'm open. Well, you have a right to be afraid of it because your ego is afraid of it. Your false sense of self is trying to control everything. So it can't control this. It has to allow this, permit it. The Mayatri commentary, some people pronounce it Mayatri, others Mayatri, because we're over here reading the letters. But here we go. The Mayatri commentary of Robert Hume and much Raja Yoga thought is, hold your tongue to the roof of your mouth. It helps open this line into the infinite above your head. So you just put your tongue, you don't curl it back in the throat area. You put it where the hard palate and the soft palate join. Just up. And if you can practice that so you're not thinking about your tongue, just used to that slight pressure of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, this helps the energy rise and penetrate. You let the energy rise up the spine to the tip of the tongue and penetrate what's up here. There's the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, into the 7th chakra. That's very helpful to everybody. I got, so I was doing it all the time as a habit, riding in a car or whatever. And then I went to do, I went to Calcutta, and all the impurities of the air, for example, you'd have cooked food right near you. There'd be fumes from the kerosene or gasoline, and I lost my voice, so I had to go for some vocal lessons from a real wonderful man, a wonderful expert. And as a result of tongue curled up all the time, my singing teacher said, no, you must keep your tongue back of your front teeth, lower jaw. Keep it there and learn to sing with it there. And so I'd be with him, and then I'd go to my mountain house, and curl my tongue up for a few days. And then he'd say, what did I tell you about the tongue? You know, he'd always tongue down, and yoga is saying tongue up. So we had some difficulties there. My tongue got the habit of just going up all the time. So as far as singing goes, I said, can I sing words sometime? Can I sing some songs? He said, no, you're not ready. Your tongue keeps curling up, and it impairs the sound. So if you want to be a singer, tongue down. You want Kundalini? You don't have to, but it's very helpful. Tongue up. The graces of yoga will free you from thinking you're this physical being. You're expressing through this physical body, and it's a wonderful thing to have a body, but you're going to rise up and experience the nature of your soul. Spirit is everywhere, and your soul is the home office for you of spirit. Your soul is spirit dwelling within you. So, as a result of this penetration, this awakening, you'll begin to be able to enter your soul consciousness, enter the infinite consciousness pretty much anytime, as long as you're thorough at landing the plane, that allowing a descent to occur thoroughly through your mind, sense of who you are, senses, prana, the way the life force moves in you, and your physical body. You must land the plane. Entering spiritual awakening, you'll find at first you visit, you're an honored guest, and you get to go there often. And down the road, you get to stay. You get to function while you're in this marvelous state of awareness. You're able to be in a body and participate in the divine play, and you're able also to go to God, to abide in spirit. Just let everything fall away and be in spirit. Then a beautiful descent, and life continues. The divine play goes on. Well, I hope I've helped you to understand the major event that happens in yoga, this basic fundamental awakening. And I hope that you'll have many enjoyable ascents and thorough descents, and that your life will be immensely blessed.